Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It's Friday, time for our Friday news dump. We've got a lot of varied stories here today, and I hope none of them change over the weekend. It's Black Friday, so don't get murdered out there over a TV, and let's go into our headlines. Today on Before Coffee, bleach is no more effective than water, killing off this common superbug scientists have found.
And we cover the riots they're having in Dublin.
Italy's recovery fund in focus. Will it meet EU targets?
And we cover a train derailment in Kentucky.
UK museums say Roman Emperor Elagabalus was transgender.
Those stories and more, which is November 24th, Black Friday here in the United States, on Before Coffee.
Okay, first news story. This is from Euronews. Next. Researchers have found that chlorine-based disinfectant does not kill a superbug on hospital scrubs, which I'm guessing is what they've been using to make sure that they're, disinfected before they spread diseases all over the hospital. Bleach does not kill a bacterium that often causes illness in people who have taken antibiotics, according to a new study. Clostridioides difficile, or C. diff, is the most common cause of antibiotic-associated diarrhea globally and mainly impacts older adults in hospitals or care homes. With incidences of antimicrobial resistance on the rise, the threat posed by the superbugs to the human health is increasing, Tina Joshi, an associate professor of molecular microbiology at the University of Plymouth in the UK, said in a statement. But far from demonstrating that our clinical environments are clean and safe for staff and patients, this study highlights the ability of C. diff spores to tolerate disinfection in use in the recommended active chlorine concentrations, Joshi said. University of Plymouth scientists tested 3 in-use high concentrations of sodium hypochlorite liquid bleach disinfectant on 3 different strains of C. diff and found that the bleach was no more effective than water at damaging the C. diff spores. There was also no significant difference between water and bleach on hospital scrub fabrics, which they examined with electron microscopes. The same team had previously found that hospital gowns retained superbugs even after the recommended amount of disinfectant. The findings were published in the journal Microbiology, with the authors saying that there is an urgent need to review current disinfection guidelines to reduce the incidence of C. diff infections. I thought they'd zapped hospital gowns with UV light or something, but I guess not. That's what I would do to kill everything. Just radiate it. It shows we need disinfectants and guidelines that are fit for purposes and work in line with bacterial evolution, and the research should have significant impact on current disinfection protocols in the medical field globally, Joshi said. According to the European Centre of Disease Prevention and Control, ECDC, there are an estimated 7,800 fatal healthcare-associated C. diff cases annually in the EU and the EEA, Economic European Area. The researchers say that understanding that bacteria's bleach tolerance could be important for managing antimicrobial resistance bacteria, which are rising globally. Antimicrobial resistance, or AMR, occurs when bacteria, fungi, and parasites adapt to withstand antimicrobials meant to kill them. This resistance is the result of inappropriate and excessive use of antimicrobials in people, animals, and farming, as well as inadequate infection prevention and control measures in healthcare settings, the ECDC said. Yeah, it's easy to just say, oh, you did it too much. You can't control how many times people disinfect stuff. So, okay. Thanks for playing the blame game. Can you give us an actual answer? The EU has set several goals to tackle antimicrobial resistance by 2030, one of which is reducing the total consumption of antibiotics by 20%. With AMR increasing globally, they need to find those answers, both for C. diff and other superbugs, has never been more pressing, Joshi said. So not only is COVID still out there, but you also might get C. diff because they don't get affected by bleach, and people are bleaching to try to get rid of it, and it's out there. Panic! I'm just kidding. Don't panic. It's fine. The likelihood of this happening to you is very low. And just stop over disinfecting stuff. I've always said that. You can disinfect things, like I left chicken on the counter or something. I'm gonna disinfect that. But don't just panic disinfect everything all the time unless you have a disorder, which you need to work with your therapist with, and not disinfect everything.
OCD then. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Your story.
Okay, so that's an interesting story. Absolutely. And overreaction news. Now, it's a tragedy when children get stabbed, but to entirely blame it on some other is, again, racism on the march in Ireland this time. In Ireland, you can definitely tell where somebody's not from Ireland. They don't have red hair. But they've decided to blame it on brown people. What a shock. Rioters clashed with police in Dublin after children hurt in knife attack. A suspect was in custody after a woman and 3 children were injured in Irish capital. After the incidents, the riots that police were driven by misinformation about the attack. This is from New York Times, Emma Babula. Emma Babula. 3 young children and a woman in her 30s were injured near a school in Dublin Thursday, the police said. An attack that was followed by destructive riots that they blamed on the far-right weaponizing misinformation about the episode. What a shock. It's the far-right. Oh, we're all under attack by the other people. We're different. That's not an Irish accent, so you can't call me anti-Irish. An adult woman in her 30s and 5-year-old girl sustained serious wounds in the attack, in which the knife was used, the police said. While the 5-year-old and 6-year-old girl were being treated for less serious injury, the boy was later released from the hospital. The suspect in the case was in custody, according to Garda Síochána, the Irish police force. Drew Harris, the Garda police commissioner, said that the motive for the attack remained entirely unclear. There's no motive for stabbing children. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. There's no obvious, what's the motive? There isn't one. He's crazy. The attack, which the public described as a serious public order incident, well, no shit, took place at the Parnell Square East in central Dublin shortly after 1:30 p.m. on Thursday. That evening, violent scenes broke out in the city after a group of rioters attacked police vehicles and set fires. Well, that'll fix it. Videos from the scene showed stores being looted. Again, stores didn't hurt anybody. Police cars and buses, which also didn't hurt anybody, and people clashing with police officers. In the wake of the attack, far-right figures spread rumors online about the nationality of the attacker, and the news service AFP said that one protester told them that Irish people are being attacked by these scum. These scum. Don't know what the hell he even means by that. What scum? What does that mean? These scum. Again, the far right in every country wants to tell you that you have special privileges because of the color of your skin. You're special, buddy. The police said the suspect in custody was a man in his late 40s or early 50s who was also injured, but they did not give further information about them. They blamed a far-right faction for the disorder on Thursday and asked people to leave the streets. Mr. Harris said the rioters were disgraceful and suggested they were driven by misinformation about the knife attack that was being spread online for malevolent reasons. Liam Garaki, the spokesman for the police, said the news conference that preliminary information suggested that the knife attack was a standalone event and not an act of terrorism. Well, yeah. He added that the investigators were followed by a definitive line of inquiry and were not looking for other suspects. The police force said in a statement later that it was keeping an open mind in this early stage of the investigation. An attack on children is an act of absolute cowardice and depravity. But it's actually worse to riot, because it's an individual crime. It's not something slapping you personally in the face. Ireland's president, Michael D. Hagan, said the knife attack was an appalling incident. His thoughts and prayers for children and their families, but he added that the matter would be for police, that it would be used or abused by groups with an agenda that attacks principle of social inclusion is reprehensible, he said, referring to the far-right protesters, and deserves condemnation by those who believe in the rule of law and democracy. Bystanders that helped tackle the assailant, according to Mr. Garati. My understanding is members of the public did intervene at a very, very early stage, and we would applaud those members of the public for getting involved in such dramatic and potential dangerous situation for themselves. The 5 injured were taken to hospitals in Dublin region, according to police who said they were in contact with the children's parents. In a statement, Irish Justice Minister Helen McEntee called the knife attack an appalling crime, but said the scenes we're witnessing this event in our city cannot and will not be tolerated. A thuggish and manipulative event must not be allowed to use this appalling tragedy to wreak havoc. That's your story. And of course, in this country, you'll say, "Oh, a knife attack! You see, they banned guns and they can still use a knife." Well, you can't reload a knife, can you? Anyway, that's it.
In Italy news, that's right. Italy is doing stuff. While they're losing all their immigrants, they're also trying to get rid of all their immigrants, I should say. They're also trying to get their economy back. This is from Pier Singari on Euronews Business. Italy's recovery fund is in focus as it works towards meeting EU targets. Euronews Business looks at the challenges ahead for the country as it faces uncertainties, but also opportunities and potential for growth. Italy's advancement under the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, PNRR, are currently under close observation by the European Commission. According to sources familiar with the matter, Bloomberg recently reported that Rome is facing increased difficulties in meeting the European Commission's requirements for trash disbursements, as the speed of the requisite reforms decelerates. The slowdown in question has become a matter of great concern for Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, as it raises the possibility of potential setbacks in this crucial recovery process. Italy is on the verge of a significant financial boost as it prepares to receive its 4th installment of the PNRR. This eagerly anticipated installment is valued at 16.5 billion euros, which is set to provide a much-needed injection of funds into the country's economy. Yet, there is increasing anxiety regarding the potential obstacle that may impede the achievement of 28 project targets associated with this particular tranche. What is a tranche? According to Google, a tranche is a portion or total, especially of a block of assets such as cash securities. So instead of just saying a portion, they're using their business terms, tranche, to exacerbate, I guess, that this is a business economic thing. Glad I could help you learn a new word today. Tranche. Tranche. Here we go. The European Recovery and Resilience Facility, RRF, which forms the cornerstone of the Next Generation EU initiative, stipulates that Italy must effectively implement the investments and reforms outlined in its recovery plan in order to receive performance-based payments. Italy's overall recovery plan, comprising of 69 billion in grants and 122.6 billion in loans, represents a significant portion of the country's GDP, 10.79%. That is huge. 10.79% of its GDP is not even really their money. It's somebody else's money. The 4th tranche's arrival would bring total disbursed funds to approximately 101.9 billion, which is 52% of the total available funds. So they're already halfway through, and they're only decelerating. Their overall package is pivotal for Italy's economic revival and fortitude in the forthcoming years, and stands as a primary element under the scrutiny by credit rating agencies when evaluating the nation's credit worthiness. Italy faces a daunting task of meeting 377 investment-related and 150 reform-related milestones and targets. So as long as they reach those targets, the money they get isn't a waste of time. According to the latest report from the European Commission, a staggering 72% of these commitments have yet to be met. So they already have 50% of all the money they are going to get from the grants and loans, but they haven't even met 50% of the commitments. Italy's ambitious plans to revamp its public administration, strengthen its production systems, and tackle socioeconomic challenges may face potential barrier due to lack of fulfillment. Paolo Gentiloni, a European Commissioner for Economy, has offered advice to Prime Minister Meloni on navigating challenging circumstances, emphasizing a singular imperative: reforms. It is essential that the government pursue the reforms and investments necessary to improve our competitiveness and achieve sustained and sustainable growth, Gentiloni said. So they need to get those reforms out. One of the cardinal objectives of Italy's PNRR is the enhancement of the country's digital infrastructure, especially within its public administration. The Italian bureaucracy, which I'm sure all that red tape isn't helping pass these reforms, is historically known for its complexity, has long obstructed business efficacy and economic growth. Despite marked advancements in the digital economy and social society index, DESI, in recent years, Italy remains below the European average, ranking 18th among 27 European Union member states. Don't do business in Italy, it sucks, is what it sounds like. Italy has so far received $6.4 billion in grants and loans for digital transformation, part of a total allocation of $49 billion for completing the pillar's overhaul. So they're getting a lot of money, and they're using $6.4 billion of that money in trying to make everything a bit more efficient. But most of this money, it looks like $15.4 billion, is going into smart, sustainable, and inclusive growth. Don't know what that means. And then the second largest at $14.69 billion is going into health and economic, social, institutional resilience. So the digital transformation is second to last, above $2.4 billion in policies for the next generation. So you can see how much they care about the young people in Italy. In a positive development, Moody's credit rating agency reaffirmed Italy's credit rating at Baa3. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure it's good. On November 17th, upgrading the outlook to stable from negative. This change reflects a stabilization in the country's economic strength, banking sector health, and debt dynamics. Italy's significant economic strengths, including its robust manufacturing sector, high household wealth, and private sector low indebtedness, supports this rating. So a lot of people aren't in debt, except for the whole country, which is. The credit rating agency has highlighted the positive impact of Italy's PNRR on the country's medium-term economic outlook, emphasizing that the successful execution of the plan is expected to strengthen Italy's economic prospects in the coming years. The latest European Commission macroeconomic forecast suggests that Italy's real GDP, which likely bottomed out in the third quarter, is expected to rebound in the final quarter of 2023. Only time will tell. This recovery is forecasted to lead to annual growth of 0.7%, accelerating to 0.9% in 2024 and 1.2% in 2025. Remind you, this is economics, so 1% is actually a huge percentage than you think. This growth trajectory is primarily driven by investments funded through RRF. The road ahead is paved with challenges and uncertainties, but is also filled with opportunities and potential for growth. For Italy, the PNRR represents a golden opportunity for development, investments, reforms, as well as a defining moment of the European stage. So, even though everyone is in debt, even countries. So we'll see how this turns out in, I guess, the end of the reimbursements, or if they just need to let the immigrants in so they can have a strong workforce. Who knows? I'm not an economist. Your story.
A chemical fire in Kentucky train, this is from AP, doesn't have a byline. Chemical fire, well, it doesn't have a reporter's name on it, I should say. A chemical fire at Kentucky train derailment that caused evacuations has been extinguished and people can return to their homes. Rail operator CSX said Thursday. CSX spokesman Ryan Tucker said in the email Thursday afternoon that the fire is completely out. He said authorities and CSX officials reviewed air monitoring data and decided it was safe to let displaced return home. The CSX train derailed around 2:30 p.m. Wednesday near Livingston, a remote town with about 200 people in Rockcastle County. Residents were encouraged to evacuate. Two of the 16 cars that derailed carried molten sulfur which caught fire after the cars were breached, CSX said in a statement. It's believed that the fire released the potentially harmful gas sulfur dioxide, but officials have not released results of measurements taken from the air monitoring equipment that was being deployed Wednesday night. The derailment meant some Livingston residents woke up on Thanksgiving in a middle school shelter. Cindy Bradley had just finished cooking for the big meal Wednesday when an official knocking loudly urged her to leave her small Kentucky home as soon as possible because the train had derailed. She ended up at Rockcastle County Middle School in Livingston, unsure what was come next. It's just really scary. We don't know how long this is, Bradley told WTVQ TV on Wednesday night, surrounded by dozens of cots. According to the Environmental Protection Agency website, sulfur dioxide can cause respiratory problems depending on the concentration and length of exposure. The gas is commonly produced by burning fossil fuels at power plants and other industrial processes, the EPA says. Evelyn Gray noticed a problem when the back door was opened by someone telling her to evacuate. As soon as he opened the back door to come in, the chemical hit me. I had a real bad asthma attack, Gray told the TV station. The danger from sulfur dioxide tends to be direct and quick, irritating the lungs and skin, said Neil Donahue, a chemistry professor at Carnegie Mellon University. It's just a nasty, caustic, and acidic stuff that hurts. It's unpleasant to be in. Once the fire was put out, the threat from the chemicals was expected to diminish quickly, said Donahue. CSX is now working to clean up the additional spilled chemical and restore the area. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear declared a state of emergency in the county, assuring crews all the help from the state they need. He asked the public to keep in mind the emergency workers and people forced to spend Thanksgiving away from home. Please think about them and pray for their resolution that gets them back to their homes. Thank you for all the first responders spending the day protecting our people, the governor said in a statement Thursday. CSX promised to pay the costs of anyone asked to evacuate, including a Thanksgiving dinner. So that's the story. And of course, we remind you that the United States leads the world in train derailments, where they have about 2 incidents per day, not necessarily derailments, but it's because of our antiquated infrastructure. And we don't have passenger trains like other countries. You have a lot of freight trains that derail. Not too many passengers, very few passengers trains derail, but lots and lots of freight trains. Your story. Her story.
Okay. This time I'll actually switch. Right. In culture news. This is David Morquand on Your News Culture. According to research, Emperor Elagabalus used to be called a lady, and the museum will be referring to the ruler as she from now on. Okay, so originally a man and became a woman. Or I should say was always a woman, and didn't know it yet. A UK museum has reclassified the ancient Roman Emperor Elagabalus as transgender and will subsequently be referring to the ruler as she in its displays. The North Hertfordshire Museum will use the new set of pronouns to refer to Elagabalus, with the institution citing ancient Roman writings claiming that the ruler, who held power between 218 and 222 CE, before being assassinated at the age of 18, wore women's clothing and preferred to be called a lady. The decision follows long-standing academic interest in the 3rd century AD ruler's gender identity, with the museum consulting the LGBT charity Stonewall and the LGBT wing of trade union Unision on the best practice for its display. Information on the North Hertfordshire Museum policy states that pronouns used in the display will be those the individual in question might have used themselves, or whatever pronoun in retrospect is appropriate. Elagabalus, who was born and lived in Syria before assuming the Roman throne at age 14, is considered one of the most controversial Roman emperors. Elagabalus, who also known to have married a man, the charioteer and former slave Heracles, and they loved being referred to as Heracles' wife and mistress. The emperor is also reported to have frequently worn wigs and makeup, preferred to be called domina, lady, over dominus, lord, and even offered vast sums of money to any physician who could give them a vagina. explains an interview published in 2021 on the University of Birmingham website. New guidance on trans-inclusive practices in the UK museums and heritage sites was recently published by the University of Leicester Research Centre for Museums and Galleries, RCMG. The guidance was welcomed by advocates in trans rights, but vilified by some commentators in the UK press, revealing once more how the debate over trans rights continues to be a divisive issue. Yeah, the UK is definitely on the front running of hating people because they just want to be who they want to be, and it's ruining society or something. But it looks like people have always been ruining society, I guess. Or maybe all of it's just made up and doesn't matter. That's my really short
society.
Huh?
Society is made up. We had to
yeah,
make that
like I was saying, it's all made up. You can make rules for it. That's fair. But it doesn't mean I have to listen to your rules. There's no rules for me. Okay, I can do what I want. You can do what you want. And the only thing that can really get me is if I do a crime, because that's against the law and I will get arrested. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it illegal so they can arrest people for being transgender, which is really fucked up. And it doesn't affect you, so shut the hell up. There's my thing.
I think it was illegal until 1975 in England, so just to be homosexual.
Yeah.
You're transgender.
Forcibly castrated, chemically castrated, if you're a gay in the 40s or whatever.
Yep. Are we?
Yeah, that's it. Really short, because I had that really long one about business in Italy.
All right. This day in history. This day in history, in 1531, the second peace of Capelle brought the end to the Capelle Wars during the Swiss Reformation. I probably said that wrong. It could be Capel. I have no idea. All my Swiss friends can tell me. All our Swiss friends out there. 1700 was the Louis XIV of France proclaimed his grandson Philip to be the King of Spain, beginning the War of Spanish Succession. You can do that? Hey, my nephew's the King of Spain, everybody. Deal with it. 1832, the Central State Convention in South Carolina adopted the Ordinance of Nullification, which declared 2 federal tariffs null and void within the state. It sparked the nullification crisis, which ended in favor of the federal government. South Carolina just trying to be dicks. 1859, The Origin of Species, written by Mr. Charles Darwin. The Means of Natural Selection was published on this day in 1959. 1874, American inventor Joseph Farwell Glidden patented the first commercially successful barbed wire. Way to go. 1877, shortly before her death, Anna Sewell published her only novel, Black Beauty, the first major animal story in children's literature. In 1947, the Hollywood 10, a group of motion picture producers, directors, and screenwriters who appeared before the House Un-American Activities Committee in October 1947, were found in contempt of Congress for not wanting to say, hey, my friends are in a political party that you've decided was illegal, which is against the Constitution, making political parties illegal. So, once again, the United States being full of shit when they say they have freedom. 1963, Dallas nightclub owner Jack Ruby fatally shot Lee Harvey Oswald, the accused assassin of the U.S. President John F. Kennedy, assassinated him on live television with everybody watching and going, how does a guy walk into the basement of a police station with a gun? We don't know. Probably a setup. Again, Kennedy was killed by a bunch of people, not just Oswald. We know it, we just not proven it for some reason. 1971, a man later known as D.B. Cooper on this day hijacked a plane shortly after departing from Portland, Oregon, and later parachuted out of the aircraft with ransom money. Despite extensive manhunt, he was never identified or caught. They did find a bunch of the money though, so he probably died. 1998, Queen Elizabeth II, speaking at an annual ceremonies opening the British Parliament, announced that the right of the hereditary peers to vote in the House of Lords would end though compromise legislators allowed 92 hereditary peers to remain lords. Oh, okay, well, whatever. Since you're already there, you can't kick you out because you're so special. You're hereditarily smart because your parents inbred for 40 generations.
Well, to be fair, they're more educated for more generations. That's why, right? Lords were allowed to go to school and get educated for decades, and then poor people were like, "Oh, can we go to school too? Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's make everyone smart." And so,
and of course, the most important thing they learned was they were special.
Yeah.
2001, the Grand National Assembly of Turkey ratified changes to the country's legal code that made women equal to men before the law and no longer subject to their husbands. So Turkey became the first Muslim country to come out of the Dark Ages, and places like Saudi Arabia are still there. 1642 is our featured event, Dutch discovery of Tasmania. That's right. The people of Tasmania did not know they existed until the Dutch discovered them.
Exactly.
Dutch navigator, what?
He said exactly. Totally. How it works.
Sitting around going, fuck, what are we? Oh yeah, the Dutch said, you're people, you live in Tasmania. Shit. And then that's when they
Thank God you guys got here. We would have been lost without you.
I would have never known about Tasmanian except for Warner Brothers cartoons. Dutch navigator Abel Janzoen Tasman, who sailed from Batavia, Jakarta, to investigate the practicality of a sea passage towards Chile and to explore New Guinea, skirted the southern shores of Tasmania on this day in 1642. There you go. Just skirted them. Put a skirt on and just walked around. He's a cross-dresser. Featured biography today is Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, famous, really short guy, artist from France, was born on November 24th, 1864 in Ibe, France, and died in September 9th, 1901 in Malrome, France. I think that's how it's pronounced. Famous birthdays today, Zachary Taylor, President of the United States, was born in 1784. William F. Buckley Jr. was born on this day. Famous intellectual, American editor, born in 1925, editor of the National Review. And again, they want us to know the birthday of a serial killer. Who cares? Karen Heigl, American actress, was born in 1978. I'm going to write these people. Why are you giving us birthdays of serial killers? We don't fucking know their names. Jesus. Let's make them even more famous by remembering their birthdays every year. Fuck you, man. Stop telling me that shit. Serial killers are bad people. They're bad people. They should not be remembered for their birthday. Does somebody fucking go out and buy a goddamn have a celebration for Ted Bundy's birthday? Really? Are people that fucking warped? Yes, is the answer. All right. What day is it today? It's National Sardines Day. That's right. I was actually talking about this yesterday. So I looked at a can of sardines and all this Thanksgiving food. I was like, I kind of want to eat sardines right now. I don't know why, but all this other
I'm
food
addicted
can go.
to sardines.
And maybe I'm pregnant. National Flossing Day is today because it's the day after Thanksgiving. And apparently people just go to bed with food in their teeth and forget to floss and then wait the next day and floss. I don't know. National Day of Listening is the day after Thanksgiving, which the day of Thanksgiving is National Fight with Your Relatives Day. And of course, we already covered it's Black Friday, traditionally the day where people go to the stores and stab somebody in the eye for let's say, a big screen TV or the latest toy. They'll do 20 years for stabbing somebody in the eye for something that's obsolete next week. And it's also Maize Day, which is the Native American, at least some Native American term for corn, not the maize that you get lost in. And it's also Your Welcome Giving Day. After Thanksgiving, the next day is Your Welcome Giving. Thanksgiving, Your Welcome Giving. Somebody's way too damn clever. Anyway, that's all the days for today. Oh, it's also Buy Nothing Day. So you have somebody out there calling it Buy Nothing Day. That's me. I will buy something maybe if I need it. That's about it. I'm not going to a store to get for some shit.
I'm also over
By the way-
consumerism. I freaking grinded my teeth just to buy some pants because I needed pants, and I was like, ugh, gross, I'm buying stuff. And then I'm like, but I do need pants. I do need pants.
Yeah, what's wrong with my old pants? Well, you just practical. That's all. You're just practical. How much crap do I need? I don't need that much crap. I'm old. Look at all this crap I got. 60 years of collecting crap. And it's like, some people never want to get rid of their crap. I was like, but it's my crap. Anyway.
All right. Go do your outro, and then I'll do the outro, and then we'll do gavel.
All right. And that's Roger from the United States, reporting on train derailments and the horrible state of people's blaming of immigrants in other countries.
And this has been Allison here from the Netherlands, who is also now anti-immigrant now. I guess we just hate immigrants here too. So we will see how that goes on for the next year. And this is the end. And we'll see you next week for another Monday News Day.
The chair declares the House in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.